Happy Friday! It's been such a mad week. I'm bloody glad it's over now, to be honest. I'm sure everybody else is. Well, I'm sure a few of you watching, actually, your week's not just over just yet. You're almost there, though. If it's 7:30 my time, I'd say you're just entering the afternoon. So, nearly there. A couple hours more. Well, let me just get everything ready here. Let me close this down. Don't need that anymore. Thank you. I hope you've eaten plenty of rice today. Alright. A very good evening to everybody. Good afternoon to others. Good morning, I suppose, to maybe some of you. You never know. But thank you very much for joining me today. This is my annual stream, which I do after every video that I release. Going over the subject of the video that I actually released, a few discussion topics, a few theory topics, and especially with patch 6.4 being so close, we'll dive into that as well, especially since we got a few little teaser updates. But let's just get everything settled here and then we're good to go. So I've got everything there, that's good. Well, I suppose we should start where I always start, which is from my video itself. This video does contain main story spoilers for FF14 Shadowbringers and also for the Hildebrand storyline. So if you haven't seen those yet, spoiler alert. So yeah, the subject of the video was the Warriors of Light on the Other Reflections. This was a dive into everything we knew, or know rather, about the Warriors of Light, or the Spectral heroes as they're known, or the Phantoms or the Spectrals, that appeared during Shadowbringers at the behest of Elidibus. Essentially, he summoned the souls, or part of the souls, or the Aether, or we're not exactly sure what the process was, but he summoned them forth from the other reflections in order to do his bidding and also to empower himself as a primal under the guise of the Warrior of Light, of all things. Too bad we weren't a primal, because we would have powered up as well. But then again, we were the Warrior of Darkness, and he was very careful about that as well. He's like, you're the Warrior of Darkness, I'm the Warrior of Light. So, there is that. 12-hour night shift in Australia for another 5 days straight for me. Glad for the content to listen to while I work though. Happy weekend to the rest of you. I appreciate that, thank you very much. And 12-hour night shift. I do not miss those at all. I can remember, it's almost a decade ago now, I used to do 12-hour night shifts because I was a migration engineer. So I'd go into a company at 6 o'clock at night, upgrade a lot of their machines from one OS to the next OS, and then I'd be finishing up at 6 a.m. the next morning. It was horrible. Actually, I lie, it was actually pretty good. I think this was actually just around the release of A Realm Reborn. But I do not envy you your night shift. I wouldn't be able to stomach it anymore. I don't think I have the stamina for it anymore, to be perfectly honest. I'd definitely fall asleep. But I do like my evenings, so I hope you get through this right here. I really do. Now, I went through everything about the Spectral Heroes in the video, so there's not really much else to discuss about them. However, everything seems to be leading us up to our going to the other reflections. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but it is going to happen. Primarily because the main story for the entire Event Walker has not shut up about the subject. Y'shtola has been going on and on. I'm going to find a way to the first. I'm going to open a way to the other reflections. I'm going to do the other reflections. I'm going to get there. And then she ended patch 6.3 with saying, alright, I'm going back to Sharlayan. Instead of us finding a way back to the Void or getting another Void Gate or whatever, I'm just going to continue my research in opening a proper way in order to get to the Void and also bianceable to the other reflections. So we're looking forward to her discovery about that, but we don't know exactly when that's going to be. However, we do have some hints about when it's going to be and how it's going to be. But I'll get to those in a few minutes. Sorry. Now, I missed this storyline, to be perfectly honest. Like, this was actually a very good way of capping off Shadowbringers in my mind, bringing back the guys of Ardbert with Elidibus, and capping off the Ascians or the Undersunder storyline with that. It was a good way of doing it, and everything else then was capped off with Endwalker essentially. But the Ascian story essentially ended here because Fandaniel doesn't identify as an Ascian, and we haven't seen the other Ascians since. So Lord only knows where the hell they went. But as fitting as it is, I'm actually standing in the Crystarium at the moment. I was wandering around talking to a few of our notable NPCs. In particular, Ciela, or I usually call her Ciela, and then Unukalhai. I was talking to them as well. I'm still annoyed about the fact that these two aren't involved, but subject for another time. I'll get to those in a while. But yeah, I'm still annoyed. This kind of, I'll just quickly actually touch upon it. So when you ask her about the 13th, for example, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this. What? Not only did you travel to the 13th, you encountered a Memoriate besides. Wicked white. That's nothing short of a miracle. I used to be a Memoriate myself, but I lost my powers when the Ascians plucked me out of the Void. Interesting in the fact that she got plucked out of the Void and she lost her powers. It's astounding to think that this Zero managed to survive with hers all this time. Though she claims to have no desire to save our world as a compatriot, I should still be keen to meet her. There's only so many of us left after all, those who haven't completely lost themselves. Also, I know full well that you and yours have your own objective in the 13th. But should you discover aught that might lead to its restoration, I thank you to share it with me. This line annoys me, because we've been skirting around them the entire time, just going, I'd love to share it with you, but something storyline, something side quest, something role quest has been preventing you from getting involved when everybody is screaming from the sidelines, why aren't these two people involved? I mean, for crying out loud, we've been saying it the entire time. Unukalhai has learned the ability to open void gates. Nothing else to say, except for the fact that he can do it. I mean, if we were able to freely change the story of FF14, as soon as they destroyed our void gate, I would have spoken up just going, alright, I'll be back in a couple of hours. I'm just going to pop over to the first real quick. Unukalhai, do me a solid. Open me a void gate, will you? I need to quickly drop into the 13th, if you wouldn't mind. Kick Golbez's ass and then come back. Everybody's happy. But this is reality. Or what reality of waiting 6 months for a storyline happens. But yeah, it's enough about that. I could vent about that all day, to be perfectly honest. But back to the main subject. So, the Spectral Heroes. We still don't know exactly everything about them. I did speculate in the video regarding what the nature of the Spectral heroes actually is. We do know from his dialogue, for example, the dialogue that's actually on the screen, ironically enough, but you'd assume I require my champions to be summoned in their entirety. I do not. Their souls needn't even be whole. And this is the exact line that had me thinking, just going, what the hell did he do to these other heroes, adventurers, warriors of light from the other reflections? These self-proclaimed, more than likely, warriors of light, who likely do have the echo. What condition were they left in? Like the Spectral Necromancer, the Spectral Berserker, the Spectral Thief. What condition were they in after we vanquished their souls? And I laid down the questions in the stream. What happened to that portion of themselves? Was that portion just a manifestation of their own personality in the Aether itself? Or did they actually physically rip a part of their soul like De La Habrea? Are these people okay? Are we going to go to one of these reflections one day and see a catatonic Spectral Necromancer? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking one day we go to one of these reflections and the Spectral Necromancer or the Berserker will be lying in a bed in a coma because this asshole, for lack of a... well, I have plenty of words to call him, but this asshole ripped their souls out. Or did he? We don't know exactly what it is. I mean, we know he says it, and their souls needn't be whole, but we don't know exactly what this means. But I'll address that in the comments as well, because plenty of people have actually watched this so far, despite the fact that I only released it a week ago. So it's gotten a lot of traction. People are chewing up anything about 7.0 or 6.0 or our general path and where we're going with a lot of enthusiasm. So I will elaborate on that in a few moments. But yeah, I ran through the entire dungeon, going through what we know about these specific spectrals, including the lesser ones. The lesser ones have a little bit of dialogue, of course, but it's mostly just like, I will save my world for the light. We will do this and stuff like that. Just casual little things. Like, it's mainly the bosses that talk. But only one of them ever got a voice dialogue, and that was the Spectral Swordsman / Paladin, who actually had a proper piece of dialogue. So let me just play that again, actually. Hello, and look much more whole in body as well as mind. The first one we met was a Spectral Swordsman, most likely a Paladin. The other... no, that's not it. Where is it? Because he has like a very granular kind of voice.
In the name of the light, I shall vanquish the darkness.
With Amaroth in the background.
The world from its doom.
Oh.
And who might you be?
After staring at this cutscene a number of times, I'm really thrown off by...
Who might you be?
It's primarily the lighting of it, but it looks like his head is detached from his body. Well, I know he's standing with a slant like that, he's in his stance, but his head kind of looks detached, primarily because his whole body is glowing. So let me just show you again. Just look at his head. His head looks strange in this thing. But as I said, he is kind of... flare, drop it, and our little spectral black mage in the background there. Unfortunately, he doesn't say anything, or she. One of anything really. But they are instantly violent towards us, which is understandable. They've all been pre-programmed. They all have a set command. We must vanquish the darkness in the name of the light, or something along those lines. The Spectral Berserker is probably my favourite of the Spectrals. I mean, I know the Necromancer gets a lot of love, but I've always been a fan of the Berserker job in Final Fantasy, or not the Berserker job, but the Berserker ability. So you just trigger it, and all of a sudden you get extra attack power, and you have one character just going ham on the enemies themselves. So I've always been a fan of Berserk status when it came to Final Fantasy. So the Berserker himself really embodied that, which I really enjoyed. But I've already gone into detail about why some of these jobs may not actually end up in Final Fantasy XIV. Primarily because a lot of these jobs that we saw, like the Necromancer and the Berserker and the Thief, they're already represented by jobs that are in FF14 already, but that's a whole different conversation. The Necromancer is probably the most important one in the video because she's the one with the actual dialogue. The Berserker doesn't say much. He kind of says something at the start, and then he goes about like Hulk, 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 smash, Hulk, Hulk, smash sort of stuff. I love the Berserker as well. Thank you. Necks are oddly long in this game, not just Elizin. Probably makes sense, it would look weird. This is why I've always called Elizin giraffes. I always used to tease my friend back in A Realm Reborn, just going, "Hello Fiona, you giraffe." I don't really do that anymore, but well, I lie, I actually still do tease them. Like, people keep calling me a potato, so I'm gonna call them giraffes. You just don't see many giraffes around nowadays, so yeah. You call me names, I call you back. You call me potato, I call you Brachiosaurus. But yeah, necks are a very strange thing, especially the Elizin are just, their proportions are always, they've always been a little, well, they've been unique, essentially. Their legs are very long, the arms are very long and skinny, and the neck is just very long. Hello there, NPC 12. Right, okay, yeah. The Necromancer was my primary inspiration for why I think a Necromancer may end up in FF14. Primarily because if we are going to get a new job, it's going to be a caster, more than likely, because we haven't seen a caster since Stormblood. So we're well overdue, and we've gotten everything else in between that. So a caster is logical. It would balance out everything in that case, because if we get one more caster and then nothing else, I think all the jobs in FF14 would be balanced in terms of numbers. But I think we're hitting the point now where we have too many jobs. I mean, if you look at jobs in FF14 and classes in general, and you compare it to any other MMO, we have way more classes, way more things to play than most other MMOs. The only other MMOs that would have us beat are lower resource intensive ones, older ones, that require very little effort, or less effort rather. It doesn't require little effort, no MMO does. But the sort of games that require less effort in order to add a class or a job in, they're the only games that have us beat. Like, FF14 just has a variety, so many. And they keep adding onto it. It's brilliant, of course, but it becomes a chore as well, because if you look at our classes and our jobs, there's just so much to level. Like, I've been picking at them, but I haven't even gotten around to actually clearing them all. So I'd be hopeful just to get the Necromancer or something, a caster along those lines, and then we're happy. But that's an entire other conversation. I keep varying off the conversation, but yeah, NBC echoes it rather well as well. They love the outfit. Everybody loves the Necromancer outfit. Everybody's surprised we haven't actually gotten the Necromancer outfit yet, but there's still time for that. And especially if we start opening up other reflections, especially the one that she's from, we may end up getting her outfit. I'd say it would be just a static outfit that you wear though, similar to Lisa's outfit, for example. But it would be a nice outfit. But people are still begging for the outfit from 6.3 as well. The mannequins, the Reaper mannequin. I can't remember what she's called. But yeah, people are still begging for that outfit as well. So it is what it is. For a subject that's coming up as well that I have in this video, I need to teleport to a main city. So I'm going to go to Limsa as well. Everybody's limb set is different. Mine's okay. Odin's not too bad, to be perfectly honest. It's got all the people as usual. Like, you get a lot of the people standing around all hours of the day, talking, enjoying themselves. So it's not really too madness around here. Jesus, that tail. That tail is huge. Look at the size of that tail. I mean, that tail is ridiculous. Alright, stop getting distracted, Ron. Okay, I just need to stand here for a while for reasons. But I'll get back to that. Moogle Limsa is weird. I used to play on Moogle. And I think it was because when Around Reborn it wasn't weird. So unless it's weird now. But to be honest, every main city-state location is weird these days. And it's going to be a subject I'm going to be addressing after I finish this topic as well. It's something that people are getting more and more focused on, which I'll get back to. But yeah, I think it's a good time now because there's not really much else I need to say about this video, but I will go through the comments and the questions. I've answered a few of them, but I haven't answered all of them. I mainly want to answer them on stream. So I suppose let's go back to it now. So I think I've answered a few of these already. It's a fair callback for the Spectral heroes in that dungeon. The Spectral thief would take offense, take offense rather, on being called such. He prefers treasure hunter. That's a very good one. He's like a sedan in my opinion, isn't he? He very closely resembles the Amano artwork of Locke. That's also a very good point. I don't know why I didn't bring up Locke first. The Necromancer is a callback to Lena Charlotte Tycoon in her Necromancer job outfit in Final Fantasy V. I really need to play 5. I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of stuff by not playing 5. The 4 heroes you control are from the World of Light and are actual Warriors of Light. The Spectral Barbarian is the one that people are still the most confused about who that may be. Because there's not really a comparison you can make with him. I think there has been some like berserkers in the series. I can't recall some of them, but they were relatively simplistic if I recall. I commented back, the Necromancer seems to be the one people want to meet first, and she has made a heck of an impression. I just can't help but wonder what her story truly was. Like, people have been dying to see her, but primarily because of the outfit. The outfit is striking, it sticks in your mind. So also of note on Lena, she was the only party member that was, I'm assuming that's possessed by Melazine, which was a demon of the void in Final Fantasy V. So that could be the reason for being tainted while still being a warrior of light. That's also a good point, she could be possessed. Or there's a darkness within. Irish Berserker becomes a limited job. I hope we meet the Spectral Necro later on. It's still not one of my main job choices to be added in the future, as I've already said. And like you, I hope to see this fellow icon of Final Fantasy jobs take a major role in FF14. Berserker just a war, I think, but maybe we've had 2 Necromancer that I can remember. I would love a Necromantic healer or blood magic user and learning it from another shard. I've said this before, that one of the main reasons we probably wouldn't get Necromancer is because a lot of the warrior's development, its toolkit, its lore, was directly based on Berserk and a Berserker in general. So adding a Berserker job next to warrior doesn't really make sense, because a lot of the jobs in FF14 are combinations of other jobs within the series, for example. Pretty sure some of the warriors were summoned from the source, because among them were spectral dragoons, which wouldn't exist in worlds without dragons. With that being said, I wonder why we haven't heard anything about the effects of the summoning on those individuals. And I was like, that is an extremely good point. Dragoon arts were specifically developed in order to fight with the power of a dragon, or fight against dragons. Well, it was originally, if I recall, to fight with the power of a dragon, but then was used to fight against dragons. Thinking about it, we haven't seen a Lambert of the Spiked Butt in a while. If you recall him, he's a Dragoon that appears in the Western Highlands in a number of fates, and he's called a Lambert of the Spiked Butt because of his armor, I'm assuming. And he's like, feel the power of the butt and stuff like that, or something like that. He's kind of like a joke character. But Underscore makes a very good point. Dragoon art are from the source. So us seeing a Spectral Dragoon and the other Spectral Dragoons that we saw, because we saw one take out our airship, if you recall. So that must have been an Ishgardian Dragoon, or somebody who picked up the art of the Dragoon, which is very few outside of Ishgard. Not sure if we get Necromancer due to some cultural things. That's also another point. The jobs that they add have to fit culturally, not only in Asia, but also in other parts of the world, because you can't release one job and then expect it to be able to be added to other regions without lore changes, which is something FF14 developers prefer not to do. They prefer to release something that doesn't get neutered, for lack of a better word, when it comes to the West. Other games have had to do this in the past as well. World of Warcraft is a backwards example of it as well. If you recall, when World of Warcraft was released, well, World of Warcraft has the undead race, so they're like flesh and bone characters. You can see their bones hanging out to them, and their flesh is kind of hanging off their bones. They're a cool race. But when World of Warcraft was released in Asia, they had to modify the undead race that it doesn't show any bones. So if you look at, or I think it's probably still the case now, if you look at an undead character on a WoW server in Asia, you won't see any bones. That's a reason they had to change things, because of culture, essentially. This might have been China, I'm not really sure. I think it probably was China, but this was a long time ago, back when I played WoW. But that's an example. So FF14 has to do the same thing. They want to release something that they don't have to change from region to region, because it is released in a lot of regions. Not only to Japan, it's released in the West, it's released in Korea. They have to jump through a lot of hurdles in order to do things. So yeah, it's a very good point. Necromancer is a very dark kind of job, so it would have to be something really specific. But then again, we did get a Necromancer in there, but it was only a one fight, so you never know. Alright, Red Spine says, one thing I found interesting, the first Spectral hero, the Spectral Swordsman, has the hairstyle and armor set that are references, homages to the FF14 or FF1 warrior design. Well, the sprite design anyway. Those gloves and the chest piece are very specific after all. And considering how FF1, your name, your characters, it makes a touch amusing that Thancred asks who he is and gets no answer. That's a very good point, if you think about it, because they didn't really talk. And you're like, who are you? And it's like, I don't have a name. FF4, Final Fantasy 1 was very special. It was in China, Vitor, thank you very much. The skeleton ads in The Realm Reborn were altered in China, if I remember correctly. Really? I know there's skeletons, yeah, there's skeletons in like the Temple of Karn, and I think in the Wanderer's Palace as well. I'll have to look into that, actually. Because if that's true, that's very interesting. I'd like to actually see a side-by-side comparison of pictures like that. But, Red Spine, you make a very good argument here that it's paying a direct homage to Final Fantasy 1, and that's kind of like an inside joke, where Thancred asks, who might you be? And he's just like, you're getting no answer from me, just like us, we nod. So, that's a good catch. I didn't think about that. Okay, Nathan Adams says, I always wonder the same about what might have happened to the souls Elizabeth summoned and the possible after effects like the ones you brought up. And I think that it could be an interesting plot point for a future expansion once we finally discover shard travel and possibly plan to visit them in future. I fully agree. I fully expect we're going to see some sort of consequence of this. The skeleton as... I think there's also some in the... I think there is. I can't really remember. We don't really see that many skeletal enemies these days, do we? Insanity Pepper. Love the name and the Tomberry. The heroes that Elizabeth summons at the halfway point in the trial are the main cast of Final Fantasy IV. You can even see the Palam and Porum twin casts through the rest of the fight. Is that true? I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. And people are like, what? Yeah, the Dark Knight is even wearing the Baron Helm. I didn't notice if there were other unique spell names, but the little white and black mages were casting twin cast. And there's also a green haired summoner and a warrior with a two-handed axe that looks a lot like a hammer. I think I'm gonna have to redo that trial and see that again. Although, I do have a picture. I did take pictures of that trial when I went through it again. So, we did see a few things come up, so maybe it was caught in the picture. Let's see. Nope, nope, nope. That's not it. That's not it either. I took a picture. I know I did. Where is it? Oh, seriously, where is it? I took a picture of it. Where is it? Or maybe I didn't take a picture. I didn't take a picture. Okay, I did record it though. So, it's in my footage. Give me one moment. I will find this. That's not it. That's not it. This might be it, considering it's 44 minutes long.
Strength.
Nope, that's not it. That's my other footage. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna find this. I have this here. I know I have this.
I am.
Yeah, there we go. Let me see. So I didn't take a picture, but it should be clear as crystal in here. Now that you look at them, they are very unique, aren't they? I didn't really look at this picture like properly, but if you look at them, they are very unique. I mean, look at the summoner, the fox ninja, and the Baron helm. So the Dark Knight is wearing the Baron helm, and then there's... not exactly sure what this helm is. Yeah, Baron helm. That is a very good catch. That is a really good catch. Oh, there's better pictures of them. Yeah, okay. Let me just mute this real quick. And wait, isn't there a slow mode? How do I play it slow? Playback speed. Slower. Okay. Oh god, it pixelates so much when you try to play it slow. Woo! Okay. Alright, so there's the bard. And I'm not exactly sure what he is. I'm not even sure what this helmet is. There's the white mage and the black mage. That is a very good catch. Wow. Summoner. Dang, that is a good catch. I'm gonna have to dissect that a bit more. Hello, Cognate Summoner. But that is a very good catch. Very nice. That is a brilliant catch. I don't know how I didn't catch that. That is amazing. Amazing catch. That is brilliant. I'm going to have to dissect that a bit more later. Now, Zach has to say, I hadn't thought about the effect it might have on the other shards. I wonder if it would be possible that since Elizabeth only summoned a part of their souls, and specifically their devotion to the Warriors of Light, that the effect to those who were summoned was less pronounced. If Graha was summoning souls in their entirety, which left the Science bodies behind, I think it would be possible that if only a fraction of their soul was taken, then the majority of it plus the body would remain. Perhaps like a minor sundering. That's a nice way of putting it, a minor sundering. And maybe this was just a mass dizzy spell that affected those who were summoned. Far less dramatic of a result, but I still know little about what exactly constitutes a soul in game. To be honest, none of us do. They've tried describing it to us, we don't fully understand either. Comparing our Warrior of Light to the people at the first, we are 6 to 7 times rejoined, and they are presumably 1/14 of an Amarotine, and yet corporeal similar enough in the eyes of Y'shtola to not make a specific note of. Also, even though he directly confronted us, Elizabeth was still acting as emissary and attempting to maintain balance. With that in mind, robbing multiple shards of their heroes would run counter to that mission, as they likely start plummeting away into whatever alignment was undermined their rejoining, rather. Some very good points there. I've read the theory somewhere which states that world rejoinings distribute the ages across all shards equally in order to balance the density. I'm not really sure. Actually, I don't recall ever hearing that. I'd be interested to find out more though. In my opinion, all of them are Warriors of Light, and the concept of Beyond the Rift could represent a distinct type of multiverse, not the 14 shards that emerged after the Sundering. That's a very good point as well, because FF14 exists in its own universe, but also it's influenced by the worlds that have come before in the 13 games that preceded it, plus all the spin-offs as well. Like all the gear that we get, the characters that we've seen Lightning, we've seen Noctis, etc, etc. There's no explanation of whether or not they're from a shard, which is not likely because their worlds are different than Aetheris. Which means that there's an entire galaxy out there. We flew to the end of the universe, or the end of our galaxy, I think. But there is precedent essentially for that, yes. Great topic. And I think back to this dungeon often as one of my favourite moments in the whole expansion. I like to think that rather than being left totally... Let me just lower this a tiny bit because I have a feeling people can barely hear me over it. Okay. I like to think that rather than being left totally helpless and fully transported to another dimension, that the warriors who were susceptible to the call entered a form of sleep like a lucid dream state. When their aether was dispersed, their consciousness would be rejoined back to them, much like astral travel might be considered. Not totally safe, because a part of their soul or aether may have not been restored, just depends on whether soul is a restorable resource in this case like aether is. As for the boss, that's a tough one. Is it possible that they were brought more fully in because it's easier to manipulate for one reason or another? The Berserker and the Necro, I can see why they might be, but the Thief or Treasure Hunter, I'm not so sure. Alternate timelines are canon, like you and the Warrior of Light and the Scions being genocided by Black Rose. That's a good point. That's an alternate timeline. I really hope that FF16 takes place in one of the shards. Oh, you never know. I mean, I'm hoping for a crossover. We've gotten crossover for 15. 16 is pretty assumable. A crossover with FF14 for FF16 would make a lot of sense as well, because it would promote FF16. Not that it needs much promoting, they invest a lot of money into it. But it would just promote it a lot more, especially because it's the same team that's developing it. But yeah, it's a tough topic because we don't know exactly what constitutes a soul. We know about aether, corporeal aether, stuff like that, but we just don't know the truth. I like this theory that they went into kind of lucid dream-like state, and maybe their aether was summoned forth, and then that aether would replenish later. Because our aether does retain a certain part of our personality, which would explain why they're not exactly all there, but they're mostly just mindless, acting on instinct sort of thing. I loved the armor on the bosses in that dungeon, so did everybody. If the Spectral Marise Grizzly says, if the Spectral Necromancer was from the 13th, and with what we know about the souls on the 13th being locked in a deathless cycle, she could have been Zeros' mother, fighting for her love tainted by darkness, a warrior of light at the same time. Let me read that again, actually. If the Spectral Necromancer was from the 13th, and with what we know about the souls of the 13th being locked in a deathless cycle, she could have been Zero's mother, fighting for her love tainted by darkness, a warrior of light at the same time. Hang about. Hang about. Hang about. Let me go back to the video real quick. Let me go back to the video real quick, because this is interesting. Right, where is she? Come on. Right, come on. I need to see her. I shall fight for the world, and for you, my heart. Now that I think about it, we were assuming, or I was assuming, that I shall fight for the world and for you, my heart. I thought that meant a lover, a husband, a wife, something like that, like a partner. What if it wasn't? What if it's a child? What if it's a son, a daughter? What if that's what she was referencing? That is a really good theory. What if it was? Like, what if she actually was from the Void? And it actually was Zeros' mother? Because we do know that Zero fought alongside her mother in order to protect people. So she was if not in actuality, a spiritual warrior of light. Similar to Unikalhai and Ciala. That is a really good theory. I like this theory. I really like it. Like, now that I look at this, it does make as much sense to state that my heart, which is your child, as much as it makes sense to say my heart, my love. Because she doesn't state my love, she states my heart. That is a really good theory. And it would make a lot of sense. Because we don't know exactly what happened to Zeros' mother. I love this theory. I really love this theory. This is having me thinking a whole lot now. Is it possible that this might tie in at some point to an expansion of Zero's story? Because we have been getting more and more pieces. 6.3 gave us a lot more information about our past. As we learn more, is it entirely possible that this could turn out to be her mother? Oh, I love this theory. I really love this theory. Marike Grizzly, that is an amazing theory. I'm going nuts. This is an amazing thing. That is nuts. I love this idea. I want to explore this a bit more. But let's continue on. I'll end up fixating on this for hours otherwise. But that is really good. I love that. I really like that. Let me know what you think about that. What do you think? Could it be Zero's mother? Let me know what you think. Let me continue on. But damn. Alright, Nuclear Necro. Love the name, by the way. If the Spectral Necromancer foreshadowing and your theory end up being true, and we end up getting a Necromancer caster job for 7.0, it was one of my picks, I will explode out of excitement. Although I would also be really happy about getting to talk to some of the other Reflections Warriors of Light in a less deadly scenario. Would be really cool to hear their stories, their problems, and how we could potentially help them. Like, it could be an entire plot point that we go to a reflection and they're bereft of a Warrior of Light because theirs suddenly just dropped unconscious one day. So we could be helping them the same way that we helped Hildebrand. But yeah, I answered all this with this as well. Blue Mage Danny stated that I can't imagine getting Necromancer for lore reasons. Some people have stated that due to some countries not doing it. Necromancy in FF14 is achieved by torturing a soul and tethering it to a corpse. By its definition, an unfathomable evil just can't be justified from a heroic perspective. Although we haven't crossed the line, but we have walked it, essentially, and taken a few steps back and forth. But Blue Mage Danny makes a very good point. But none of these are evil, just dark. That's a very good point as well. When it comes to FF14, there is no good and evil. There is no good or bad. There is just one perspective and another perspective. FF14 and Final Fantasy in general has made a point in stating this. There's light and there's dark. There's good and there's evil. But they're just polar opposites as well. They always exist. It doesn't mean them literally like you see in our world, like people going around bloody shanking people or robbing people all the time. Like, it's not the same thing. Final Fantasy 14 and other games like it, they give you a different perspective. Dark Mind Austin states, I don't think the Necromancer is a Void Sent hero. The powers of the 13th seem somewhat tame and mostly normal. With the way a certain friend tells us the nature of the other reflections could surprise us. I have a deep feeling that the Necromancer comes from one of the remaining reflections. I also think that what we know as the Warrior of Light isn't the exact same, or may have different connotations. Well, the people of Aetheris gave us that moniker. I think Elizabeth just seized on that and started disseminating it to the other reflections. After all, time moved differently on the other reflections. Necromancy is considered a forbidden art, but is also a dual knife martial art of rogues in Surgery. Surely there's a way to justify adding Necromancer as a job. If they change it in such a way that they don't focus on its I reanimate this corpse kind of elements, which we did see the Necromancer do in FF14. They could focus on it in a particular way, maybe focus more on the magic, the dark magic specifically. Then it could work. Yoshi P also mentioned the high likelihood of a 7 crossover when the remake is finished. I really want that. I really want a crossover. We were all surprised that the remake didn't get one, but I think with the way things are going now, it's entirely possible we will get one. Fingers crossed. I did answer back. I fully agree. I think the Astrologer's Discovery will get us to the 13th and for them to revisit the 1st. I could see it playing out towards the end of the next expansion, maybe patch 7.0, 7.4 and beyond. So that's my theory. I think we're going to go to the reflections afterwards. What was I saying? Okay. Griffin Companion. They aren't from the other still resistant reflections. Elizabeth pulled all those Warrior of Light souls from the ether, from the fallen reflections. That would imply he's pulling them from the ethereal sea, where they've already dispersed and reincarnated. I'm not sure how much weight I can put behind that, to be honest, but it is entirely possible, considering he may have some ability to manipulate the ethereal sea, but Hydaelyn was still alive at this point, so I don't think she would have sat by. It is her domain, or was. The Hearty Geek says, hey, I got an interesting video idea. Although it's more just of an evolving narrative, maybe some small hints he'd like to help maybe point out the possible areas where it foreshadowed or even hinted at. Oh yeah, I already answered this. So he gave me some good points there, and I'll definitely take it into consideration for my next videos. You perhaps would benefit from watching Dipper Dog's analysis of this event. I'm pretty sure she's right about who the spectral heroes are meant to be. I've never heard of this person, but I'm assuming they're a FF14 content creator, considering the subject. The thing is with me, I don't actually watch other content creators in FF14, at least. Like, I don't know who any of them are. Well, I know who the top people are. Like, I know the names, but I don't watch their channels. I don't even work with them. I don't talk with them or anything else like that. I did a collaboration with one some time ago. It was only a live stream though, or two actually, in a live stream. But I don't actively watch anybody's videos at all. Primarily because I feel that watching other content creators' videos actually affects my own thinking in terms of, is the theory I just came up with mine, or did I watch it on somebody else's video? For example, like maybe somebody came up with a theory and then all of a sudden I make a video and I'm like, I'm just repeating what this person says. I'm plagiarizing them essentially. I don't watch them for that reason, first and foremost, but also I have a habit of, like many people do, of comparing yourself to others, especially in the work that you do. So if I start watching other people's videos on a subject the same as mine, I would more than likely end up comparing my videos to them and trying to alter myself in order to try and fit or do better. I mean, it probably would be natural, but it just doesn't work for the way I am, unfortunately. So I prefer to do my own thing and do my own research and do my own ideas, essentially. So if they do elaborate on it, I'd highly recommend watching their video to see if they actually give you some good information. But unfortunately, I won't be watching the video, but thank you for bringing it up. Dinxius Dinks, apologies. With Necromancer and Berserker established in the story, might this be a logical step for SE to introduce 2 new jobs into FF14? Also, given what we know of Y'shtola, Archmage is also a possible third. Not that it would probably ever happen, but it would be interesting. I myself would love to have a dual axe wielding job that combines the abilities of Dancer for ranged with abilities that hit hard closer to your targets to build up a cast bar, to unleash either magical ranged attacks or magical melee attacks, while possibly having support utilities that both Dancer and Red Mage have, i.e. Vercure and Verraise. Well, I think the Red Mage probably ticks all of those boxes already, but a melee caster is something people have been asking for a while, and I did come up with a couple of ideas about what they could be. But yeah, a melee caster is something that people really want, and it's probably one of the last unique casters you could do, because the casters we have kind of cover all the bases. So I mean, for all we know, they could end up just going, we're making Blue Mage not a limited job anymore, and we're giving it specific abilities. But I doubt they would, because they're investing a lot into Blue Mage these days. Do you really think FF14 will continue to delve into these things in 7.0? I would love it, but I'm afraid we may have seen the last of this in 7.0, I mean, considering the talk about new story. In regards to traveling to other shards, surely, but I don't think it'll be much that Elizabeth did in the end of 5x3. I think they will. This is my reply. After all, the MSQ and Endwalker currently is directly related to lore decisions by the Ascians before the game's timeline began. All these stories are now the foundation for new ones, but they all grow from the same source. This is something I'd like to bring up further and further elaborate on. So, people are taking it far too literally that what the developer said is they're capping off the story and they're writing new ones. But that doesn't mean they're going to ignore the old stories. FF14 was built upon these stories. They're the foundation. So you can build upon them. The main story, as I've just pointed out, is a prime example right now. Everything that's happening in the Void is a direct result of Ascian interactions with the 13th and their failure to actually do a rejoining with it. It's a direct result of past happenings. So a lot of people seem to be under the impression that they're going to ignore what's happening in order to write brand new stories. That's not the case. They're just building upon it. They're not going to elaborate further on those stories, but new stories can develop from them, which is what's happening with the Void right now. I don't remember these fights at all. It was a couple of years ago, and it was during COVID as well. So, COVID is a blur, isn't it? So, interesting thing as well, the WHO didn't. Oh, they officially said that COVID is not a pandemic anymore. I think they announced that this morning. So, we knew that for a year, but still, it's good that we're getting that far. It's the cold of the future, essentially, or the flu of the future, really. Okay, but that's essentially it about the video. So there's not really much I actually need to elaborate on anymore. We've answered all the questions. Tantan has a question though. How would a melee caster work though? Like casting skill with a range of 5 yams? That sounds terrible. I mean, it would be. It does sound pretty jank. I'd say it would probably be a caster without the casts, if that makes sense. So similar to what... Well, kind of like an amalgamation between what ranged are now and what they were a few years ago during Heaven's Ward, for example. Like, remember when Machinists had a cast bar? And then they don't? It's a very difficult topic to actually... I'll go into that in another video though. But it is something people want because people feel that it's the last avenue that they have in order to try and get something. But yeah, people feel like... I think one of the main theories I had was a melee caster who would have specific spells that could only be cast within a 5 yard range. Like, similar to what you said, like, it would be similar to a red mage going between 2 stances. They have to go in order to cast these spells close up, but then they have spells that they're casting far away as well. But yeah, that's capping off the discussion about the video. So before I jump into 6.4, there is a discussion topic I want to bring up with people. It's not really controversial, but I will bring it up. Actually, I'll bring this up just beforehand. This picture got released today by Yoshi P. Look at the guy, he's absolutely exhausted. Poor guy. Look at him. He's fast asleep. But this is yet another image that he's been posting. Like, he's been doing these sort of things for years, if you recall. And I have the other image right here. So in 2013, I think this is right before the release of A Realm Reborn. Then in 2017, I think just before the release of Stormblood. And just before the release of Shadowbringers. So he's been doing this thing for years, but this is his latest one. So I'm assuming this is after all of the press and stuff like that for Final Fantasy 16. I think he's just puckered out. Poor guy. He's looking a lot better though, if you've noticed that. With the pictures and the video that we've seen of him recently, he looks much more rested. Because he looked exhausted for the past year. But he's looking much better now, which is good. A healthy Yoshi P is a happy Yoshi P, is a happy community, in my opinion. I look forward to seeing him again at FanFest. But yes, my next topic, people want, but do they understand what they actually means? Melecaster sounds really cumbersome. Yeah, people want a lot of stuff, but in the end, the developers just have to give them what they need. So, we're not going to give you what you ask for, we're going to give you what you need. So that's what developers think. But yeah, my next topic is actually to do with chat, which is why I've actually come to Limsa Laminsa in the first place. So, there's a few things I want to... Well, this is the topic essentially. So I've been sitting in Limsa for a while. There actually hasn't been that many posts. Usually you see it in the likes of Ul'dah, for example, as well. But let me quickly teleport to Ul'dah to see if it actually comes up as well. Because there is a lot of people talking in Limsa as well, which is annoying. But my main topic of discussion is a lot of people lately are feeling that chat and... Oh god, what have I done? Okay. A lot of people lately are feeling that the main shout chats and the main party finder chats are becoming overly bloated with... I don't know. They feel it's becoming overly bloated with stuff like this. So this person says, join our pirate crew as we sail off into the night towards wild seas and fill the air with rock and metal. Light Tritania, Goblet. So this is a person advertising a concert. Now concerts are actually nothing new. People have been doing concerts in FF14 for years. It's never going to go away. Like, it's one of the main things that's great about our community. But people feel that these chats are actually just taking over server chats. I don't know if you've noticed it. You probably noticed it when you're walking through a city state and you notice all these people just asking for stuff. Like, an FC recruiting is perfectly, that's normal. Like, you have all these people, I don't know what they're talking about. I see Dutch writing, that's probably what Dutch is. Okay. Like, here's another one. Ready to rock your soul out. Defined. Club now open with some heavy rock and metal. Hot summer in a hot summer. Find the start of a new hot summer with the great Baller Man hits brought to you by our resident DJ. So you get stuff like that. Like, people are getting annoyed by the fact that these things are just filling up chats, because I do kind of see it, because every time I teleport to Uldar or Gridania or Limsa, you always see these people posting these sort of chats. And to be honest, they're innocent enough. I understand. A lot of them aren't, though. Like, I saw one a few days ago, which was, it started off innocent enough, and then it started going, we have sexy cat ladies and sexy lingerie to fulfill all of your dark desires, and something bondage, and a lot of stuff I can't say on a chat. And this was in shout chat, and I'm like, why are you advertising this stuff in an open chat like that? I'm just like, are you kidding me? I mean, ERP is a thing. I'm not gonna pretend it's not. I mean, I personally have actually seen ERP events. I've even been suckered into them, unfortunately. Like, I attended my last event, actually. Started off as a concert, and I went to it, and then it turned into a full-on ERP event, and I ran for the door. I was actually recording it, planning to make a video out of it. And then when I started turning into ERP, I stopped recording and I ran for the door. But that's a whole other topic. But the point I'm trying to make is, a lot of people are getting upset by these chats. They feel it's taking over shout chats. And also the party finder chat as well. Like, if you look, like, there's 111 things advertising on the Light Data Center. 65 are high-end duties, 9 in raids, 8 in trials, a couple of other miscellaneous, and then you have 28 others where most of the stuff is being advertised. So you've got people advertising their, well, sales. Well, I'm not going to talk about that. FF14 gambling, pay for Gil with Gil, and then you have all these, like, 80s, 90s, 2000 party where they're playing music that's not allowed to be played in FF14. We all know it, but it is what it is. I almost lost my channel because I was recording an event like that. But yeah, like, I think this thing needs to be changed again. I think a new tab is going to be needed called roleplay. I think a roleplay tab is probably called for at this point. Everything's under other at the moment, and other seems like a freaking hodgepodge of everything. So I think a roleplay tab for them to just have their own stuff is good. Have you checked the Fellowship Finder? It's full with ads as well. I haven't actually checked the Fellowship Finder. Let's have a look. I haven't checked the Fellowship in a while. The Fellowship system is, in my opinion, strange. Like, I made a couple, and I'm a member of a couple. But wait, how do you? Oh, is it Community Finder? Is it? I'm assuming it's this. Yeah, it's Community Finder, isn't it? Or is it? No. I'm not on Chaos. Wait, how do I get to... Where do I find fellowships? I haven't actually searched for a fellowship. Not in a while. It's not great. I mean, it's kind of true. It's ramped up in the last couple of months or so. Bear in mind, a vocal minority of people were barely tolerating the RP Cup scene to begin with. The spam doesn't help. That's very true as well. Like, RP is not everybody's cup of tea. I love a bit of roleplay. I'd call myself a role player. I get into character a lot when it comes to my gameplay. but also the content that I create. So I do a general bit of roleplay. I'm not heavily invested into it, but a lot of people are, and it's actually really nice. Like, I like to go to RP events where people are role playing, and it's fun to watch. It was in game. I don't know where though. Yeah, where the hell is it? I barely use this in game social. All right, thank you very much. So, like, this shows. Ah, there it is, right in front of my freaking face. Jill, thank you very much. Okay. LGBTIQ. Why do they have to have so many syllables for this now? LGBTIQA+. What the hell does that mean? I'm assuming that just means everything. They're putting everything under one tab. Okay, I'm not going to get into this. LGBTIQA+ link shell. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a link shell for just openness. I'm going to assume that's that. Searching for people to RP with. Have a specific role to fill an RP of yours, or looking for a long-term partner. Have a look here. Interesting. Searching for friendly people who want to play together in the... Yep. That's an FC recruitment, so that's fine. Savage Raiders and meme. We all love meme. ERP club. Love life. A place for singles or people searching for steamy adventures. Have fun. To each their own. I don't judge anybody at all. People are free to do whatever the hell they want in this game. I'm not going to get involved in it, but I know where ERP has been a thing since the very beginning. Like, I can remember in 2.0, people were already advertising ERP groups. And people were already writing fan content already and drawing pictures and doing everything else. Our community feeds were very small back then, so you saw it all instantly in forums and stuff like that, so you got exposed to it very easily. Growing FC, see, there's a lot of FC recruitments, that's right. Parties every other Wednesday. Cool. We do FF14 events, play other games, movie nights together, looking for more people. See, those are the sort of things I love. I like events like that. That's social events, I like stuff like that. Welcome to those who appreciate lizards. Aura, welcome to... What? Hang on. Lizard Appreciation Society. Welcome those who appreciate lizards. Aura are welcome as well. Okay. Welcome to... Oh, that's the same one again. Okay, so that's advertising twice. Okay. But I'm starting to see your point. Has the shout spam continued? Like, nobody's shouting for a while now. So I'm assuming they're quiet right now. But I'm assuming they were shouting an hour ago because it's mostly around 7 o'clock these sort of things get started, isn't it? But yeah, I can see where you're going with this. Like, there's a lot of... A group of RPs from Asia, Oceania. Good. We are a laid back and casual community. So there's a lot of FCs recruiting. And then there's a lot of LGBTQIA plus friendly safe space where we aim to help each other and have fun. I have no problem with that. So these sort of things are fine. Like, people advertise, people are looking for stuff like that. So all to them. But going back to my main subject of this is people are getting really annoyed by this, with chat being filled with this sort of stuff. Like, it's very quiet right now. Usually when I'm standing in Ul'dah, people are yelling at the top of their voice every couple of minutes, especially on a Friday, because most of these events happen on a Friday. And most shouts are in Limsa and Gridania, but I honestly got out there because people were just talking about random stuff. Like, for all I know, these people are having a screaming match. I don't even know what they're saying. But yeah, people are getting annoyed. I can understand people getting annoyed at it, but in the end, chats are made to be used. So if people want to advertise their events, they're all for it. I think it's just mainly the fact that there's now so many events. The game is so large, and there's so many people advertising that people are just getting overwhelmed. Like, if these shouts were people going, our ultimate group is going, do you want to join us? Which never happens. But I don't think people would complain as much. I think the thing about having a separate tab for RP events could be a smart move, but I also feel just ramping up petty reports if people posting in the wrong place. Like, prime example, that ERP post that I saw in Ulda's shout chat a few days ago. Like, there's a time and a place. Ulda's shout chat is not the place. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's that topic out of the way. As I said, it's a controversial topic. Like, some people love it, some people don't love it. But I think it does need to be addressed at this point, because these events are getting popular and they're starting to flood shout chats as a result of the popularity, because so many people are doing so many events. There's like 1 million DJs. This game has more DJs than any other game in the world. Everybody has the tag DJ something. I suppose we can get to 6.4 now, because... Wait, what am I doing? If people want to ERP, sure, do whatever, but don't shout it from the roof. Strip their clothing, stand on the roof. I'm free! Yeah, there's also minors. That's a very good point. There's minors playing this game, and if you get invited to an ERP event, they're probably not going to understand. Possibly they will. But, yeah, time and place, shout chat, in my opinion. Shouting ERP is not. If you want to shout another event, that's fine. Like, but yeah, as I said, there's people on both sides of the fence. Now, time to get to 6.4. So, the special site for patch 6.4, the Dark Throne, was updated a couple of days ago. It's just a few little tidbits, but it gave us some answers and also gave us more questions. So the first thing is the logo. Now, the logo gave us a lot of answers. First thing is Golbez sitting on his throne. We saw that throne on the moon. He has a sword, two-handed sword, which is interesting because I don't recall him actually using a sword. But if you also notice, he's not the one actually holding it. The dragon is. So this sword might actually not even be Golbez's. It might be a sword that ties into the raid, because there's a lot of mixture between the main story and the raid in logos like this. Prime example is the sphere on top, which shows the Paragon symbol. Now, if you notice with this symbol having this part highlighted, which is Hephaestus, it's a direct parallel to the Pandemonium logo that we got before Endwalker launched. So, it's a good parallel. I enjoy that logo because of this. Excuse me. But yeah, the main standout was indeed... We're going to assume this is Ashdaya. The symbolism is not to be ignored, because Ashdaya was trapped above his throne. Right now she's wrapped around his throne. And we know this is Shadow Dragon because only the Shadow Dragon looks like this. The Shadow Dragon looks like a big serpent dragon. And the horns are a little different, but it definitely could be her. I think she's going to get corrupted in some way, but I think we're going to save her. If she dies, I'm going to be pissed. I can tell you that. I am not losing another The First Brood on my watch. Thank you very much. I've already killed one. But yeah, the Dark Throne. So we get a visit from... We're going to assume this is to do with the main story, but I'm assuming he's going to be guiding us to our location. And the location in question is the Aether font, which I'll get to you in a second. But let's just go through the three images. So you have Kryl, and then you have our Gleaner friend, whose name I can't remember. I am so sorry, my friend. And then you have Zero. I'm assuming they're standing in the Aether font at this point, because you can see the Aether in the background there as well. And then you have this third image with Nidhane, the alchemists, and Ystole all standing on the moon outside of the Watcher's Palace. Not exactly sure why they're here, but it's interesting. I'm going to assume a big assumption that what's happening here is whatever we learn at the Aether font is going to allow us to make a bridge between Aetheris and the Void But because we know that Golbez is on the moon and the moon is our target, we're going to make a portal from our moon to the moon of the 13th. So this is going to be our gateway. Instead of landing on the 13th, which is not what we don't want to do. We don't want to land in the void. We don't want to land on its moon. So we're leaving from our moon to go to their moon. And perhaps the Watcher has some insight for us. Maybe he'll tell us, for example, I got a communication from the Watcher on the 13th. He was slain. Or maybe he'll give us insight into exactly how Golbez was able to overpower the Watcher on the 13th. Or just give us some more insight in general. So I think personally we're going to be leaving from here. Considering these guys are here. I mean, these guys wouldn't need to be here if we're just talking to the Watcher. But the fact that they are tells me we're going to be portaling from our moon to the moon of the 13th. So this probably happens at the end of the patch, before the last trial. The description is, with a gambit that would cost them their lives, the Archfiend Cagnazzo and Rubicante succeeded in destroying the Void Gate hidden from within the depths of Azadah's legacy, thus barring the path to the 13th. Yet where there is a will, there is a way. And so the Warrior of Light and allies continue to search for a new means to reach the Void. That's a good point for them being on the moon. What if Golbez is the Watcher, but corrupted? That's also an interesting theory, isn't it? What if he is? What if the Watcher... I mean, we don't know what kind of effect the fall of the 13th had on the moon as well. The moon looked fairly intact, but it's entirely possible that the Watcher was corrupted as well. So he might actually be the Watcher in a corrupted form. But maybe our Watcher is able to give us some insight into that. That's a good theory as well. And then, of course, we have the ending of Pandemonium, which is Anabasios, I think that's called. The serene expanse of the ethereal sea is marred by the sudden appearance of Pandemonium, which has crossed eons to threaten the source of life itself. In what way? Which has crossed eons to threaten the source of life itself. Why is it threatening the source of life itself? Is it poisoning the ethereal sea just by being there? Is that our reason for actually having to deal with Pandemonium again? We need to get it out of there. It's like a... What kind of reference can I use? If you've watched The Walking Dead, if there's a zombie walker in the well, you need to get out of the well before it corrupts the water. That's probably what it's like. Its walls loom unmanned, but you know well what horrors once lay beyond them. And in the silence you can hear a stirring. I'm looking forward to hearing what the conclusion of this is. But I've already talked a lot about that in my last stream. If you haven't watched my recap, I've talked about it in there as well. But the main meat here is the Aether Font, which we finally learned is north of the Sharlayan mainland lies the verdant Isle of Ham, a land long protected by the Forum as an academic asset due to its abundant wells of Aether. Yet with plenty often comes peril, and what awaits will not so readily relinquish its claim on the island's lifeblood. So now we know it's not Eureka, as we originally thought, so it's not on the isle. But it is on an island north of Sharlayan, which was our second guess, so we were happily correct on that. And these armors look nice. Like, I like this armor. See this armor here? It looks really nice with the chain. So I do like these new armors that they're coming up with. This bear is also really cool. But yeah, the Aether Font is north of Sharlayan, which is a new island we can add to our map. Also, SE, please give us an updated map. It's driving us nuts. I hope we don't have to kill polar bears. I really don't want to kill polar bears. But I'm assuming, because look at this path here. So this path goes along here, up here. So I'm assuming we're going to land on a ship on the ice. Then we're going to walk through the ice up to the first boss. And then we're going to walk towards the Aether Font, so the second and third boss. I really don't want to kill a polar bear though. Look at them. They're so cute. And look at these two just sitting there. They look like the polar bears from the Coca-Cola ad sitting on the ice. They're so cute. I love them. Except this one. He's crazy. He's also... Doesn't it bring a lot of, like... It harkens back to what Grahatia looked like when he was an Exarch with the corruption. We get a new Unreal, which we already knew about. Additional support, so the support system is getting upgraded again, which is brilliant. I don't mind having new supports like this because I usually run dungeons by myself when I'm doing research. I usually will run dungeons otherwise. If I'm not doing research or I'm not doing a video, I'll run a dungeon with other people. But when it comes to doing research for a video, I like to take it on my own pace, and I like to run these dungeons for the first time with the NPCs so I can properly take it in. Skip Soar or disband? That's a good point as well. Skip Soar. Are we going to skip Soar this time? I don't know. This fight was very easy. I can remember when that fight first came out. If I recall correctly, I think this was the first trial when it came out with Zurban where his AoE didn't one-shot people. I think that was the main thing I was surprised about back in Heavensward. When we were fighting him and an AoE came along and you get hit by it, but only brought your health down like 80%. And I'm like, wait, why didn't that one-shot me? Everything else in these fights usually one-shots you. Zurban was the first fight that didn't one-shot you. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So something changed between the release of the Triad, between the second and the third, where this guy was no longer one-shotting people. With his AoEs anyway. The other things were AoEing people and killing them, but yeah, we'll see. You get a big list of stuff here. If you haven't done the Criterion dungeons and the variant dungeons, I don't think you're required to do them, but that's 6.45 as well, so you have plenty of time to do them. Blue Mage update, which everybody's excited about. I really need to play my Blue Mage more, but leveling it is such a chore, and I hate asking people to help me with it, because I feel like I'm getting carried, and I hate being carried. Tataro's Grand Endeavor. If you haven't done the one before, do it now. And there's a lot of good stuff. The fishing update is people are very excited about. My friend Ran is very excited about that as well. And a lot of people are excited, really. But that's about it for that. But I suppose there's other media, isn't there? Just to look at. But I really love this logo. This logo is really nice. I mean, you can see her tail is just wrapped around the throne as well, so she's a very long shadow dragon now. We're going out of a lib to assume it's her. I think it is her. But that's it for 6.4. There's not much updates, but we're gonna get the live letter announcement likely very soon. Or we already did, didn't we? I think. I think the patch is gonna release on May 23rd. We haven't gotten a date, but I think it's most likely that's gonna be the 23rd. So book your time off. I already have. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? There was a couple of things, but I don't know if I want to talk about them today. If you do have any questions for me, just keep asking them. I'll happily answer them. Let me just go back in game real quick. Where the heck am I? Is there anything? Oh yeah, so there's been more posts again. Look. Alright, FC post, that's fine. Yeah, 1890s, I saw that one before. Calling all lovers for great music, Desert Rose. So yeah, it keeps going on. Somebody was actually asking me this as well. Or I actually saw people talking about it. Do any of you who raid the current raid tier feel that raids are getting stale? A lot of people have been saying that the raids here this time, like, it's a good story, but in terms of mechanics and in terms of fight, they're not so interesting anymore. They're getting they're blurring together, a lot of people have been saying. I unfortunately don't raid anymore. I made a choice between content creation and raiding. I chose content creation in the end, so I don't raid anymore. It's the first time I've never completed a tier in FF14. I've completed every tier when I was current, but I haven't even stepped foot into A8S, so I don't even know what the fight is. But a lot of people have been saying that the fights are getting stale, or that entire raiding in general is getting stale. But I think it's just to the point where people are just so good. People have just turned into machines when it comes to doing raids, progressing raids, getting them done, that you just feel formulaic, I guess. I've got one. Not sure if you went over this yet since I'm late to the chat. The next job. I thought the reason we got Reaper was so it shared an armor set with Dragoon. Does that mean we'll get a job that shares the scouting set since the Ninja only uses that? That's a very good point. The Ninja is the only one using its armor set at the moment, which is why people have been assuming, because there's a slot for a caster to be added, but also the fact that Ninja is on its own in its gear set for scouting, people are assuming we're going to get a melee caster. This is where the theories for the melee caster came from, because of the Ninja scouting sets and the fact that we need a caster, or we're overdue a caster. People assume automatically, or came up with the theory that a melee caster is likely. Even I think that's a good theory. P6S is a bit of a snooze. P7S is a glorified dungeon boss until you get to harvests. I enjoyed P7S. P6S was a, yeah. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was too bad. P7S. Only the end of it is fun. It is kind of a slog, if you think about it, but it wasn't too bad. P8S Part 1 is just annoying. Well, to be perfectly honest, like, with the fights that come in two halves, the first part is always annoying. So. But yeah, here's another example. Like, this person's posted, "Are you ready to rock your soul out?" And it's just, like, it's so big it has to go into 3 different chats in order to actually make it work. Like, there's nothing against people posting this, but it's understandable where people are getting annoyed. I'm repeating myself again. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't be repeating myself. P8S Part 2 is just NA1 prog, no matter what. I wouldn't know, to be honest, because I haven't even set foot in P8S. I honestly felt, when I stopped raiding, as soon as I cleared P7S, that's when I decided, right, I'm leaving my group and I'm going to stop raiding to focus on content creation. For the first week I regretted it. I was just going like, oh my god, I've never actually stopped raiding mid-tier. What the hell am I going to do? And then after a week I'm just like, honestly I'm fine with it. I'm not really missing anything. And then I started to see all the topics that people just going, raids are boring. So a lot of people are just think that raids are boring at the moment, which I can't really talk since I haven't really finished them. And I don't even run ultimates, so ultimates are kind of ticking the boxes for hard fights. What if Square places a cooldown on shout chat? 1 text for 30 seconds or 1 minute per person. I suppose that could work as well, but it would deter people from having proper conversations. Although, I'd say posting, if you do like a number of posts in a certain amount of minutes, then it would probably put you on a 30-minute cooldown or 30-second cooldown, for example. Okay, I think I get it. The content itself is not necessarily an issue, but the length clogs up the chat box so you can't see anything else. I've even seen people max out the character limit, which is what I assume this person is doing, which is why they broke it into 3. So I'm assuming that was probably... I don't think that's too long for one chat, because I've seen people post longer than that, so... Like, this person posted a big thing, so I'm assuming it would have fit into that. Like, an FCA chat, I don't really mind. Doesn't change the fact that it's not just a single person advertising a single event. In terms of shout track cooldown. True. There's very... Like, it's very difficult to deal with this sort of thing, isn't it? Because on the one end, you want people to talk. But on the other end, it's getting to the point where people are just getting frustrated. Most people use macros for shouts, that's also true. Especially for stuff like that. You'll make a macro real quick so you don't have to copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Couch Popato. Come back. Come back. Hi, Popato. No. Oh. Alright, I waved to her before she left, so I'm happy. Used to do that ages ago for my FC. Like, I used to do it as well. I used to have a macro for my FC recruitment, and I didn't post it all the time. But whenever I ported back to a main city every few hours or so, I'd post it once and then just fly off again. I mean, I think most of us have done that at one point. I've been over to NA a few times and seen like 2 or 3 posts from different people within minutes of each other. I've been on Balmunk and haven't seen this sort of activity, to be honest. Like, Ul'dah is the main hub for Balmunk activity. Everybody's in the quicksand. But even their shout chat wasn't full of advertisements. It was full of people talking, which is fine. But people weren't constantly spamming stuff. And I want to reiterate, I'm not against this person or any other person for posting stuff like this. Like, you're free to post this sort of stuff, but I'm mainly just echoing the sentiment people have. A lot of the players are under the opinion that it's just getting out of hand with all of the posts, because so many people are doing it in such short spans of time. Which is fair. It's very fair. Like, once you stand in a city for long enough, you notice it. And especially if you're having a conversation, like if you're having a conversation in shout chat with a bunch of people and it's broken up every few seconds by these big giant freaking advertisements, I'd get annoyed. If I was in the middle of a shout chat conversation with people and this stuff started just blotting out the chat, I'd get annoyed. For sure. What's wrong with this picture? Sir, the umbrella's supposed to go over your head. It's raining. It's... What's the point? What is the point? He's just... this is just funny to me for some reason, because it's still like... Why? This shouldn't be as funny as I think it should be, but it is to me. Just that. I didn't even know the umbrellas could do that. I thought they always stood above your head. I'm assuming that's just for like an extra emote, or just like a change of C pose when you're holding an umbrella. But if it comes out in the rain and it does this automatically, what the hell is the point? It is the cool way to hold an umbrella, not the practical way. That's a very good point. Like, a lot of people today do things the cool way instead of the practical way. They'll carry their bag down the street in the cool way, not the practical way. Like, for example, people having a backpack on one shoulder, making them do this. That's the cool way. That was back in my day. That was the cool way, instead of putting it on both shoulders, which is the practical way. So, that's a very good point, Cherry Soda. Is there anything else I wanted to bring up? I was going to bring up another topic, but I think I'll save that for a different video. I actually do want to do a discussion video about it because it's an interesting topic. But I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to address in this video, because I did address everything I wanted to talk about. But I think I'll quickly check the party finder again, just to see what's being advertised. The RP Tavern. And they all have the... Oh, that card site gets used a lot for stuff like that, which is a great site. The Niflheim Club. And it's called Sinners. The Niflheim Club. What do you think? RP or ERP? It definitely sets the... They're very coy about it, aren't they? But it's called the Niflheim Club Sinners. I'm going to say ERP. But they're not saying it's ERP. Which is dangerous. The Devil's Den. DJ Vansum and DJ Sun Saint. The Devil's Den. Like, they give them these names that just screams sus. Exactly. It's just like, you look at it and you just go, sus. Howl, Samurai, Cyberpunk 14 venue. That's one thing I'd love to see in 14. More Cyberpunk. Because we have Steampunk. It's Cyberpunk now. Paradox Crystal Cave Ballerman Party. Yeah, like, that's a good point, Jerry. Like, the taverns and people just going for a friendly time, and you go to this, like, pretend bar and just going, give me a drink, and they give you a drink. Like, stuff like that I'm fine with. Watching half-naked cats dancing around the pole, not so much. Or, I have noticed, like, a lot of these venues would have a back room. They keep advertising the back room, which we all know what the back room is. Like, if you want... Like, I remember that's exactly what happened to me. When I went to an event that started off just as a roleplay event. What is bloody tuning in my ear? When I went to the roleplay event, it started off fine. And then they started advertising in the shout chat at the house. Check out our back room where our friends are waiting for you. And I'm just like, oh no. No, no. Get me out of here, please. I mean, I'm not particularly against dancing cat girls, but I'm an innocent soul, okay? I can only take so much. The nightclub. Yeah, so the nightclubs I consider to be anything goes. If they say 18 plus nightclub, I'm going to consider it's roleplay, erotic roleplay, anything goes essentially. Inside of this little sphere, which is in a house, essentially. So, would I go? No. Especially not on stream. I am not showing that stuff on stream. Not a chance. I like my channel. Thank you very much. We'll draw your character for free at 3 AM. Ads are always fun. Yeah, it depends on what way they want to draw them as well. At 3 AM though? That's weird to see, especially if they're on a server at a different time zone. The 5-minute drawings, I'd say, are fun. Like, I've seen people do the 5-minute drawings. I've seen a couple of those streams, and they do turn out rather well. Like, I've seen people sit in Limsa just going 5-minute drawing. So, they're fun. I like that sort of content. The Jinga Onsen. We provide food and relaxation in the Far Eastern style. So, that's a nice little thing, yeah. But yeah, it's as the game just becomes more popular, there's more and more of these things. Happens in Oceania. Now, I just stood by him for one reason, just to show that he's playing. Usually I keep performance music off, especially when I'm recording or doing a live stream, primarily because they play copyrighted music that is usually so authentic that it actually triggers the algorithm on YouTube to actually detect copyright content. But I just hate... Alright, I'm gonna say it. I hate the performances in FF14 for one reason. Right, so we have the system that allows you to play an instrument, and if it was just that, I'd be fine with it. What I don't like is the fact that every song that you hear these people playing is entirely macroed. So they've just made a macro in some sort of software or whatever they're using in order to control this thing. They press play and it plays it through their character. It's not music. Like, if somebody was legit playing the actual instrument, where you could actually see their pauses, see their little variations, I'd be happy with that. But people pressing a macro and playing a song has no interest for me. I don't have no interest in standing there listening to a person press a macro, press play. Which is why I don't go to these DJs either, because these DJs are just literally pressing play and a song comes out. I mean, I get it, they're putting some amount of work in order to make it work, I guess, unless they're downloading it, but It's boring, and in my opinion, it's lazy. Like, if somebody was doing a concert in-game right now and advertised, I'm going to be playing music. It's not going to be macros, I'm going to be playing it entirely manually. That is something I would go to see. If I was going to watch a person play an actual instrument like this manually, and play a song manually, I would be interested. Going to an event to listen to a guy press one button so a bloody character plays a macro and he sits there watching it, not interested. Yeah, Maple Story 2 as well had a prime example of this. I loved the music system in Maple Story 2. It was entirely macro based as well, but a lot of people did it manually as well. You could code your MIDIs. Like, I used to do that as well in Maple Story 2. I used to code MIDIs of Final Fantasy music and play them. But that was a long time ago. But in FF14, I guess I've just changed to the point where I'm just like, if I wanted to listen to a song like this, I'd go onto YouTube and listen to it. I have no interest in listening to a guy press a macro in order to try and impress people by making me think he's actually playing the instrument, which he's not, because I know for a fact that his tempo is far too fast and it wouldn't be a person because he's doing the pitch exactly timed because I know it's a macro. If it was a person playing an actual instrument, there'd be slight delays, slight variations in their own song. So, yeah, that's just me. That's my gripe about the performances in FF14. Nice onion. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in this stream tonight. Unless anybody else has any other questions for me. I was going to run a couple of dungeons, but I think it's getting late now, so nobody would be interested in watching me. Hey, I know you. Vanille, hello. I know Vanille. I've met Vanille once. In person. It's kind of wild that YouTube is so strict and it picks up the MIDI sounding instruments of the actual song though. I've said this story multiple times, Jerry. That when I was starting my channel, some of the first videos I made were a combination of me doing lore videos, doing discussion videos, theory videos, but the fourth type of video I did was documenting and recording live events in game. So it was going to these like the events that you'd see posted, like Christmas events, people playing Christmas music, but the music, because it was on these macros and because of the number of instruments we have these days, they're so accurate that YouTube triggers them. It took down a number of my videos, I had to take down the rest, and I got 2 copyright strikes. I had to live under a rock for like 6 months until those copyright strikes actually wore off. And those copyright strikes came from the fact that people were playing copyrighted music with instruments in Final Fantasy XIV. This is the reason that you don't see many people recording and uploading content like this. And I've noticed it as well. Like when I started doing it, people were surprised that people were recording their events. Like people stream it, of course, but I guess streaming is just a little different. But I'd guarantee that some of these streamers would get copyright striked or flagged or whatever. But it's just dangerous, which is another reason why I don't like the performance system. People paying all of these copyrighted materials that just get you flagged. So, best I can manage in Final Fantasy is British Grenadiers. British Grenadiers. That's a familiar song if I recall correctly. But yeah, I think we're done. No, I don't want to listen to music. No. No, leave me alone. But yeah, I think we're going to finish off there. Nothing else we really need to discuss. We've gone through all our topics. And I'm going to let people go. It's Friday after all. So, Everybody, I wish you a happy Friday. I thank you so much for coming today. I want to see your glamour. Come back here, please. That's a nice glam. I'm assuming that's silver. I wonder what color that is. I'm assuming that was silver or something. I don't know. Like a glossy. Oh, it's that. So it's pearl white. That is a nice white. I like that. But yeah, everybody, thank you so very much for tuning in. As usual, I'm going to chop this video up and do a stream recap later. I'm working on my next video, or my next 2 videos to be specific. I hopefully get those done soon, but I am doing a bit more research on the topics before I do upload them. Jerry, it was a very pleasure to meet you as well, and have a good weekend to you and everybody else. Thank you so much. Oh, I just got my first spam chat sitting in Gridania. It's 4 p.m. here in Michigan, so they are just starting up. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much, Jill, and you have a lot of them to look forward to. It starts ramping up just after people leave for work, or after people leave work, to around 7 o'clock when these events usually start. So between 7 and 8 is when these events really kick off. I'd say probably go to one, because some of the events are very enjoyable. But just be careful. If they start advertising a back room, run for the door. Is all I'll say. But everybody, have a good weekend and have a good one.